Hi everybody, this is Bram, CEO of Solventure. Today I want to talk about how many indicators are in my forecast model. Well, let's start by taking a look at how companies use leading indicators today. If they use leading indicators, they will typically take one or maybe two or maybe three leading indicators which to some kind of historical research they know have a relation to their sales. They will really use only a very limited subset of indicators. We typically use that hand-picked or a hand-picked model. I manually selected one or two or three indicators and I will be using these in my forecasting model. The goal of live leading indicator forecasting software is that we say, okay, if I look at the full set of indicators which I have available, and today in our case that's easily somewhere between 1 to 2 million indicators, we try to build a forecasting model which automatically selects the relevant indicators for a given time series. And if I talk about the relevant, well, it really depends on the time series. Maybe for some time series I have already a very good and robust model with 2 or 3 indicators, but for other more complex time series, instead of 2 or 3, maybe I need 10 or 15 indicators. The statistical models we have developed kind of automatically see how many indicators do I really need to come to a good forecasting model for a specific time series. That's what we would typically call the brute force model. The problem with the brute force model is that if I really have a lot of indicators, it starts behaving like a black box. I do not necessarily really understand what is the relevance of indicator 8 or 9 or 10. So in everything we do, we try to avoid the black box and we try to improve the understanding of the user, let's say when he is building his forecasting model. How do we close the gap between the hand-picked? So if I really use only 1 or 2 or 3, that would probably be a hand-picked model. I manually select 1 or 2 or 3. So how do we bridge the gap between the hand-picked and the brute force? We allow to make subsets of indicators. So I can build subsets of indicators, and first subset could maybe be on correlation. For instance, on correlation. So I only look at these indicators which have a high correlation with my sales. If there is a high correlation, chances are bigger that I understand where is the link. A second type of subset could be that I make a subset based on certain keywords. If I'm a supplier to the automotive, anything which has to do with vehicle production or miles driven or oil price potentially could explain or drive my sales. So by making subsets, we kind of steer the complexity of the model to only look at sets of indicators which are more intuitive to us. And in this way we can really bridge the gap between a simple hand-picked model taking only 1 or 2 or 3 indicators really manually, the brute force model which really screens the full database, and out of that full database of indicators is suggesting which is the best forecasting model for a given time series. This allows us to, let us say, step by step understand what are drivers and how do I build a forecasting model which on the one hand is complex enough, but at the other hand I can still explain why certain indicators are in the model. So I hope this helps in, let's say, identifying how many indicators are in my forecast model or are needed in my forecasting model. This is how we try to help our customers in answering that question. So thank you, hope you enjoyed, and we will be back with other questions.